Hey folks, this is me, Vishwas, and I'm the host of this podcast. And over a course of time, I've realized one thing that you know what? There is no hype in the AI system that you're going to build, but it's all about you as a developer that is just going to build solutions out of all these kind of algorithms and all these kind of models that you build as a data scientist or it's a deep learning enthusiast. Over a course of time, the technology has evolved, the way we perceive technology has evolved, but the things are still the same. It's still the same old experience that we are actually trying to improve, the same old machine and a human interaction that we are going to have. And I think it's probably a computer and a human interaction that is just going on. But form factor is changing. The way we are perceiving computers are changing because it's in a form of a watch, it's in different form factors today. So I think Liji ma'am is more towards all these kind of technologies. It's all about making the solution developer friendly and also architecting solutions which might help people in getting that accessibility at one given point of time, like conversational AI, bot services, and things like that. So I think one post really popped out. Rennie Schulte was being appreciated. She told, "No, I received a mail saying that Rennie Schulte, you can really start your standees and the things like that." And Liji ma'am started it, and that's a motivation that you need in the developer culture. We talk about the developer culture and many topics. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for giving a podcast, ma'am. Means a lot.
No, thank you for having me, Vishwas.
Sure. So let's just start with this journey of what was your journey as a student? I know this is something that takes you a way back beyond whatever your career journey was. It's just beyond that. So I believe that that journey really shapes you as an individual today. Whatever you are in a student, the influence that you have, I think probably that's something that is going to be there. And also you can also talk about your professional life, how people were influential in your life and you appreciated and he just mailed you saying that what, you should start speaking and things like that. And every year at least you have given 10 plus talks at any given arena. So I just wanted to know, how was that journey and how was your professional journey all about? And when you see it today, how important was it to you all about?
Great question, Vishwas. It really takes me, as you said, a lot of years back for sure. So at the end of my college journey, which I graduated with a master's MTech in IT from Chennai. So my passion was to go into research. I probably would have planned on to doing research and PhD in an area that was not a huge thing at that time, but particularly NLP and in that AI space. But fortunately or unfortunately, I got placed in one of the leading MNCs in India, and I thought, great, it's actually not a huge precedent for MTech grads to get placed at that time in the MNCs. But I thought I would give it 2 years of industry experience and then I would go back into research. But as I speak with you today, I realize that that never happened over the last over a decade or so. So I'm still here in the industry, and happily, I must say. One of the reasons for that was that, I guess, my passion for what areas I was interested in, I wanted to pursue in research. Fortunately, I've been able to work in those areas and being able to create advanced applications in those areas, being in the industry itself. And it's a good area to explore and have firsthand experience with. That clubbed with the fact that, as you said, I've had some blessed experiences in terms of professional relationships, great mentors, great teachers throughout my life, and great co-workers like Renee, who can really support you and can inspire you in so many different ways. So I'm glad that this journey has taken me this far. Have I planned for it? Probably not as much, but I'm really glad the way it has turned out, I'd say.
Yeah, no, like you talked about, most of your journey was all about being a software engineer at the end of the day. So I always wanted to ask this before all this AI ML hype that we just created in the podcast, like, AI is going in this direction, that direction. But like, what did you learn as a software engineer? Like, how did all these technologies that you're learning today are very, I always say that go back to the basics, try reinventing yourself first now, because probably the technology is going to change. This logics are still going to be the same. The printing process, the minting process of the money, right? You need to mint the money at any cost, and that's still going to remain the same. So what was it all about when you had a journey as a software engineer, and how well that basic journey, like, that's a journey. If you are under 5 years, you are a fresher at any cost. Like, that's how industry is all about. So how was the journey all about in defining you in developing and problem solving capability? Because a lot of times I've seen amazing software engineer turn into an amazing AI developers, but not just amazing AI developers turning into an amazing software engineers. There's always that one bridge that we need to always connect between software engineering and AI. So what was it all about when you were learning as a software engineer, and how did it actually give you that basis of all these things that we are doing today?
Yeah, sure. So I think I would think for a software engineer, or even if you are a practitioner in any space, like you could be someone in a medical profession, or you could be a teacher, or you could be a banking professional, finance guy. I think problem solving is a good place to start with as we advance and mature in our roles, and we kind of gain that experience. One of the things that anyone in their roles would look for is bringing about areas of efficiency. How can I do this more productively? How can I better solve for this problem? Are there efficacies and efficiencies that I can bring into the system that I can free myself of that time and do something more creative with the limited time and resources that I have, and let another thing do that job for me? And that's basically the fundamental principle for a lot of software engineering stacks as well, I would think. Like, if you think about things that you have thought about in terms of automation. So even RPA systems or others, what you are essentially doing that is offloading a piece of work that manually does take a lot of time and effort, and probably a lot of attention from a human perspective, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. Then you can confidently offload to previously, before industrial revolution, used to be other humans. And then now, if with the advent of machine and with AI and tech, can you offload a lot of that into tech that you can do what you are best at doing? So that's one aspect. Another aspect is the experience itself, right? So automation is, even when you have given it or offloaded it to tech, does that change the experience, or does that in any way better the experience for people? So a lot of those things, I would not think of like one breaking point for me where I watched a great AI movie and it like struck and I was inspired. I think a combination of a variety of factors, and I was early on inspired with the possibilities of tech in general, which is what got me into this field. And then as AI started proliferating, the possibilities with AI was deeply inspiring for me to continue that journey and start reading up and start familiarizing myself with this area way before this used to be a hype in itself. And now it's no longer a hype, it's actually, it's reality. So I think a combination of a lot of factors of that space, and that has manifested in the areas that I'm working on. For example, when I speak about conversational AI or chatbots, that those are some of the things that I see in that space. For example, you're a call center executive. You handle thousands of calls on a daily basis. Some of those calls involve questionnaires that are very simple, like it's probably the same questions that you are answering day after day. Would you mind offloading that to a chatbot that a customer or an end user can easily access. Like they don't even have to call you up, you don't have to answer their questions. And I would think around 40% of that volume of questions can be easily offloaded to a chatbot. And then, so then what is your role in that? You get to do more creative tasks in that freed up time. You get to do more advanced, sophisticated tasks that probably a bot is not able to do at this time. And if the bot is not able to answer your question, obviously they will escalate it to you. So you do have a role, you have a very stronger role, I would think, in the ecosystem. It improves the experience as well. So if you think about it at scale, now the number of customers that can interact with your bot versus you being, being that one person who can take call after call after call, and then with the way that tech has proliferated, I think people, especially the youth these days, are very comfortable dealing with technology, chatting and using technology in a way that they do not feel that friction. So a lot of things coming together, it has improved that experience as well. And then if we're trying to make it as or far more intuitive than before, wherein if you use natural language processing, you can talk to the bot just the way that you would talk to a human. So you don't have to learn any commands up front. You don't have to know, how to navigate a website. You can simply use human language, whichever language you're comfortable with. Again, if it's a bot that supports translation, you can just interact the way that we are interacting right now. And I think I was inspired by a lot of these possibilities where, the fundamental paradigm of the way we interact with machines historically is just changing. So that's very powerful, I think.
Yeah, I feel that, the world has a major stake in a conversational AI. There is a lot to be developed. To an extent, we have come very close to vision, but like conversational AI is yet to come up. Like we are yet to build architectures based on all the things that we are just going through. So my question is all about like, are we very close to building an AGI? Because that is what my question is. I wanted to answer this in the last, but like I wanted to know how accessible is the solution today? Like when we want to, you told about the bot frameworks, you told about low code and a no code solution. Most of your workshops and the webinar has some set of the code here and there, and mostly it's just accessible code, the low code and the no code platform. So how do you think we will architect a solution tomorrow? And also impact of the low code and the no code movement and the era which is all coming up today. So how is that something that we are yet to being architected using something, using low code and a no code platform? So I wanted your views on the way we are going to architect solution with an accessible platforms like low code and a no code platforms. And also how easy will it be to deploy all these kind of functionality? Because your role is always moving more towards giving a solution which is developer friendly, right? So I wanted to know how is it all about when we are thinking about solutions using all these factors in mind.
Sure. So I agree actually. That again, if I may take a few years back, rewind this a bit. When I was in college, when we started just reading up on data science and machine learning, there was a lot of algorithms that we had to really study, and we had to write down, and we had to like know the ins and outs of. And then we got to a position where for a long time, there used to be, in the industry, there used to be what I would think of is gatekeeping for these kinds of technologies, like people with only these set of skills and this kind of background, and this organizations with this compute power and this caliber, and you needed to have the infrastructure and so on and so forth to be able to produce mighty applications in this space. Thereafter, as the platforms matured and as the technology again advanced, we have seen that a couple of things. One, big data is now available at scale, and then you have compute power, advanced infrastructural capabilities that are available, particularly because of the cloud platforms. You have Google, Amazon, you have Microsoft's Azure as well. And the third and most important thing is the powerful algorithms. So these algorithms, as I said previously, about 20, 30 years back, it used to be the realm of people who had advanced knowledge in statistics and PhDs and data science and those kinds of areas. But today, even a developer or a software engineer can use these AI models and AI services, which is the area that I'm working in. So without, to put it in very simple terms, even with zero machine learning expertise or data science, you do have access to these services that they have, in good terms, democratized for the use of the community. So you have access to powerful AI algorithms. You have access to advanced compute power. You don't need to have all the machinery in your office space to be able to run these AI models. You can use the power of the cloud. You can use Azure, Google, or Amazon to be able to run that. And you have the data at your disposal. So I think a combination of this is brings forth a very strong potential here. Now, to answer your specific question on low code and no code. So we did talk about the journey from the data science and the ML world to the developer space. So now they've democratized it for the developer community. And then is where we have to get to the next level, where you have to be able to support and bring these services to everyday developers or citizen developers, as they call it. And particularly in the Microsoft space, I can say for sure that there has been a lot of investment in terms of bringing this to the hands into the hands of the citizen developers, particularly if you look at the investments in terms of Power Platform and Power Apps. And previously, just in terms of just how to build a bot, I will tell you, there are so many ways you can build a chatbot using the Microsoft platform today. So one way is by using the Microsoft Bot Framework or the SDK, which is a pro developer tool. And another way that you could use was using the Power Virtual Agents, so the PVAs. But a couple of weeks back, again in Build, a very exciting announcement that they actually bringing together, unifying this, building a unified canvas to bring PVAs and the pro developer tools together. So a bot builder or a developer will have one single canvas to start from, and they can bridge accordingly. So yes, it is possible to build powerful applications if you are a low code and no code developer. And from there, for me, it's not a zero-sum game where you need to be either this or that. The concept that we talk about is that of fusion teams. So in fusion teams, you have low code people, developers who work on the low code tools. You have pro developers, you have domain experts, you have QAs, you have your project managers. Everyone works together. So at any point, you can conveniently and comfortably do that handoff if need be. So if you need to build, if you need to add additional levels of sophistication to your low code, no code bot, you can do that by using the advanced capabilities of the SDK. And if you need to bring that at any point to this canvas, you can do that as well. So we're trying to bridge, Microsoft is trying to bridge the gap between the two platforms. And there is a lot of, even today, just a lot that you can do if you want to just get started using the Power Virtual Agents, which is the low code, no code platform in the Microsoft stack. So I think it is only a matter of platforms and technology just maturing. In a couple of years, you will be able to accomplish a lot of this. It will be accessible, in your words, accessible to the community to be able to build, very powerful solutions, because I understand not everyone is a developer, not everyone is a data scientist.
And also how far do you see that there is a reality of getting something very, very new to this technology world? Like, you know, there is quantum machine learning coming today. I don't know what is it all about when it's come to quantum and things like that. But TensorFlow is evolving. Like if you see how the way in which the TensorFlow ecosystem is getting evolved, that is getting evolved. So I wanted to know, like, for the learning purpose, because you are a good learner, you deliver talks, and it's actually something that we all need to learn, right? You all need to learn how to be a right evangelist right now, because you need to also learn to how to create a market space for yourself. Like market needs to recognize you. You should know where to get that. So learning is the biggest challenge, right? Being a baby again, learning what is new in this technology, what is new in that technology. It takes a lot of time for us to improvise every single day. For us to improvise every single day, it takes a lot of time. So what's your approach in actually coming up with all these things in your mind that you just want to learn something and you will learn? So what is it all about when you're learning something new, for architecting something new or else delivering something new? Because to you, I know that it's all about that approach that you had from an UI UX design, and also that that kind of an experience that you always used to build. But now it's all about how can we do the deliverables faster using all the solutions which are already available. So how do you learn? Like how do you start your learning? Like how do you approach it, and how do you hack it? Like that's how we say in the millennial world, right? We have to hack that thing. We need to go to hackathons and things like that. So what's your approach in learning something new? And also, what should we as a newbies or the new developers coming on into the market keep in mind before approaching any problem state?
Boy, Vishwas, you make me sound so old in all this, but definitely happy to answer that question. Um, so I love hackathons. I love the kind of ideas that are generated and how we can get to quick prototypes in 24 to 48 hours or a couple of weeks. And I love the concept altogether. But if I may break some bad news here, there genuinely is no hack for learning, growth, and development. It is a lot of hard work and a lot of smart work as well. Um, One of the things that I've learned in my, if I have to talk to my 20-year-old self, one of the things that I would tell back is passion is quite an overrated thing. It is important to have a passion and an area of passion. It is equally important to have discipline, rigor, and regimen around that passion. One of the things I feel a lot of people who are in this space and is coming up to this space have is fear of missing out, or FOMO, as you would call it. Like, there's just so much happening in our industry, and technology is just growing and proliferating. Like, how do I keep up with everything that's happening? And this just, that happened and this happened and that got announced. Oh, did you hear that this, like, I realized that this is just a lot going on. It is good to, at a certain point, like not probably when you start out, at a certain point, you might, come to the concept of what's called a generalized specialist. You would have to build out your T, wherein you would have a depth of specialization in a particular tech stack. You would also need to have a broad level understanding of what other technologies or what other things mean. For example, my expertise or my experience is mostly on the AI side, and that too in the AI, developer AI space. If you ask me, I do understand what quantum computing is, what metaverse is. And if you ask me deeper questions, I would probably refer you to Renee or to someone else in my community. So it is important for us to have a general knowledge of what's happening in and around our space and industry, because there are cross-disciplinary things that we can learn and we can share as well. But it's important to stay focused on what your passion or your area is as well. It is important to develop depth in that area. And at all times, as I would think of Satya Nadella when I say this, is to have that growth mindset. Whenever I speak with interns or new hires, I always tell them the bad news first, that if this is where learning just starts. So if you thought that learning is completed with your college, that is the bad news. We are going to continue that learning journey for the rest of our career. It just does not stop. So just keeping up that attitude and being willing to learn and to grow every single day, making 0.1 percentage improvement will take you forward, I think.
Yeah, like there is a lot. There is a lot that I can talk about AI with you, because it's not about AI. I know for the fact that you don't write a code for a neural network, right? But you use the technology. You really use the technology. You deliver projects using them. But like now, I wanted to know how far have we realized that it is doable, like in terms of approaching a problem statement and everything. So how do you think should be the way in which we should be approaching a problem statement using an AI ML jargon behind, but yet there are some solutions which are there available today? Of course, you talk about what is it all about that every build brings and things like that. Every build conference brings and things like that. But there are something beyond that as well, right? Like scaling the applications, thinking about how many people might come and access the applications. I wanted to know, like, how do you and your team and Valorant Reply approach all these kind of problem statements? Because a lot of times, we don't get that what do you call a team's perspective. We sometimes get that, okay, he's an individual, he's good in AI, we just collect his insights and intent of all that problem statement. So I wanted to know, how does your team approach a problem statement? Like anything as and deliverables, like I know there's a scrum master behind everything, but like what is it all about when you discuss with your team, when you come up with a solution with the team? And how does that communication happen between all the teams? Because a lot of times it's not just FinOps, DevOps or things like that. There's chat ops, there is beyond it. There's beyond it. So how does your team approach any problem statement? Like you can take a scenario and you can explain, like probably I know there are some things that you can't speak. Like you can give us some insights about what will be the approach in a team.
Sure. So if I may take a step back and talk about the technology itself, right? This is again one of those things. One of my mentors told me like years back, for a person with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if you are bent on one single technology or tech stack, for example, if I say that I want to solve every other problem in the world using AI, that's probably not the most optimal thing to do. So before and I think that is one of the failures or one of the causes of concern of several AI projects as well. I would think tech in general, any tech project as well, putting technology up and front and center. What we need to do instead is to put the user or the business outcome or the actual problem statement before us. And technology is a core part of it. It's a very central part of it, but I would think technology revolves around that. The business outcomes or the KPIs or the user's needs, to put it very simply, what is the outcome that we want to see in an ideal world, in a better world, is the starting point. Technology should not, in my opinion, be the starting point for any problem statement or for any problem solution. I've got AI, let's see what I can solve with this. Instead, I've got a problem, let's see how we can solve this using any tech. And if AI fits the bill, yes. And I'd repeat that. I said, if AI fits the bill, yes. Because there are problems that cannot be solved with AI or can be better solved with other technologies. So technology is not the first citizen there. It would be the problem statement. And obsessive problem solving is a skill that I would think would help any engineer, for that matter, any professional. So again, when we come to problem solving, we're putting the customer or the user at the center of their experience. What would be the ideal experience for them? And then once we have a clear understanding of what that world looks like, then we bring in the tools, the techniques, the processes, the people, the framework, everything that we need to better that. We can go in saying we want to do DevSecOps, we want to do FinOps. Does that make sense in that particular? Is it important for the user to have a secure solution? Is it important for the user to have a performance solution? Is it important for the user to, it depends on the application. Are you creating a mission critical application? What is the response time there? So many other things that you need to take into consideration. I would also add accessibility to that equation. So it is, just like we talk about security and performance and all that, in the same breath, I think about accessibility. How accessible are our solutions that are created? AI solutions and other solutions. AI solutions more, I would think, because now that is going to be a hugely impactful solution that is going to be used by our communities, like our families, our friends, our children, like who not. So responsible development, responsible AI development, as we come together, again, to your question, as a team and think about it, think more or obsessively think about the problem that we're trying to solve there, and think about the technology that will solve that problem. As technologists, we are biased to come into firsthand with like, this is the technology that I know, this is my hammer, and let's see what nail I have to hit today. Like that's probably not going to work in your favor. So I would think start with the problem and discuss and work towards that problem. As you work on it, think about the multiple aspects involved, including security, performance, accessibility, and then bring in the technology and the technologists to work towards that problem solve.
So we now have this, can we fall in love with an AI system today? Like that's how sturdy the algorithm is getting. Like, you can really fall in love with an AI system. That's how conversational AI is growing. So I wanted to ask you this question, like, are we very close to achieving an AGI standard using a conversational AI? Like, there was a time where people used to say that, before you put an image to a neural network about this is a brain scanning it and things like that, first of all, a neural network has to understand this is a brain scan, then the things can go on. But today, algorithms have gone so huge. Neural networks are customized, like breast cancer has its own breast cancer net, like cancer nets are coming up, like there are CXNet, the chest scan X-ray, CXNet is coming up. Like people are architecting solution in a way that we have never seen before. So I wanted to know, can we achieve an AGI standard tomorrow at least? Because today I feel that it requires a little bit more maturity from language perspective than in the vision perspective, because we have somehow conquered the state that there are some benchmarks which are already created using vision. And I think if you see Superglue is fantastic in terms of ranking models based on all these. Like GPT-3 might be hype, but still GPT-3 has its own setbacks with respect to that benchmark. So I wanted to know, like, have we achieved the state of the art conversational AI, and are we very close to an AGI system talking to us? Like, how far is that reality, and can we achieve it one day?
So in terms of AGI, if you are referring to the sci-fi movies and what you see with WALL-E and with everyone, again, I hate to say this, but it will take some more time to be able to reach that, is my understanding. It is definitely encouraging to see the kind of maturity that the technology and platforms have achieved in a relatively short span of time, right? I mean, what never used to make the press until a couple 4 or 5 years back is now gaining a lot of traction for the reasons that we discussed previously, which is very encouraging, which is very interesting. So obviously people are starting to think, where is this headed and how fast, or probably this, it's going to arrive before I wake up tomorrow morning. But it takes a lot to get to from that 0 to 85%. It takes a lot more to get from that 85 to 100%, if that makes sense. So it will take time and effort to get to a point where, the next time we meet, you say that I don't see any setbacks in this anymore. So I'm happy and I'm comfortable talking with a bot without, having it say a lot of sorry responses back and those kind of things. Definitely a lot of work that's happening in the community, in the ecosystem, in the industry, and quite positive of getting the, being able to work in a tech space where it's going to be a lot more mature than we have right now. But AGI, I would think, is a longer shot than that. And possibly, very few players in the market who's actually working towards achieving just AGI. For a lot of it, just normal players and organizations, it's about achieving realistic targets and outcomes using the capabilities of the AI systems. Like I said, very domain specific problems that they'd like to solve for today. They are tackling very important issues like cancer research, or it might be financial outcomes. So it could be, industrial problems. So whatever it is that we see that is being worked upon today are very narrow domain specific problem statements. Not many are really even working or thinking towards let's build an AGI system. Yes, we do have that research that is happening, but even the reason for having opened it up to the low code and no code developers is so that everyone gets the ability to work towards solving their specific problem statements. So what is it that I can do? How is it that I can use the capabilities of AI today to solve for the specific problem statement that I am facing in my life? It could be as simple as, I want to schedule a dentist appointment. I want to do a hotel reservation. I want to, book an appointment. So however that will facilitate you or will, let's say, better your lives. So that's the overarching principle of AI, right? So how can you better that? So, so I think, it might take some time for us to get there, but then overall, the focus of the industry and people today, the technologists today, is to use the capabilities of AI to work on their specific problem statements.
That's true. That's true. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be achieved. Not in terms of NLP. NLP is good to some extent, but there is something beyond NLP as well, like cognitive biases, this, that. There is a lot of concepts here. And I think, thank you so much. I think in terms of a developer's perspective, it's all about making sure that the solution gets right in hand, like to the right people, to the right customers. You can't put an NLP bot in front of a person who doesn't know how to type. There is a lot of setbacks that can come up, and making sure that the solution is more affordable as well as reachable to the folks. I think, thank you so much, ma'am. I think these are some of the questions which I wanted. I think probably you made it short, but you made it very, very insightful. That's what it's all about. Even in your webinars, it's not like, oh, too much of AI. It's all about, can a developer who doesn't know AI deliver a project using all these solutions? I think probably one of the best podcasts in terms of getting all these solutions right for you folks. I think, thank you so much, ma'am. It means a lot when you share such great insights on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Vishwas. Great talking to you.
Yes, ma'am.